You are Locked On Pistons Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, here we go. It's a late night edition of a live Locked On Pistons Postcast. Thanks, as always, for making this your Pistons post-game destination. I am your host, Jake Riepma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma. We knew it was an uphill task. The Pistons shorthanded against the league's best, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and a valiant effort tonight, but a gritty effort at that. But the comeback effort falls short. 119-103, the final in this one, but it was closer than that. Pistons got it all the way down to a one-possession game in that fourth quarter and had some opportunities, but they were unable to make it happen. We'll talk about the gritty effort tonight. We'll talk about how there's no moral victories. I want to stress that. That's why I put it on the marquee. And the Tobias Harris injury. He left and did not return. We'll discuss that. I'll have my talking about segment, turning point, and of course, our player of the game. So buckle up, come along. It's a live Locked On Pistons postcast. You can subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit. Thanks as always for making this your post-game destination, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on YouTube. And don't forget to sign up for the free Locked On Pistons daily newsletter. It's available at LockedOnDaily.com. Shout out to Koo on Locked On Pistons, the daily show, who put so much time, energy, and effort into the recaps and the daily newsletter. Make sure you check it out. Sign up at LockedOnDaily.com, which is also a good reminder that, hey, this is your Pistons post-game show. We do Tigers post-game shows, and in football season, Lions post-game shows and Michigan post-game shows. The Locked On Detroit post-game initiative. Happy to be a part of it. Now, if you've stayed up late with us, get into the comments. Let me know what you thought. We had a little doubleheader action. If you were with us on the Locked On Tigers post-game show, Detroit lost in Seattle on Tarek Skubal Day, no less. And by Tarek Skubal Day, I mean he was on the mound. So we're hoping to get a victory tonight in the second portion of our doubleheader, but to no avail. So a tough day all around. Tigers lose, and then the Pistons lose. But let's be honest, and I absolutely insist on transparency, authenticity. I took it a little bit. I took it on the chin for my take on Sunday's game, where the Pistons were involved in that huge brawl against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And as a result, players were ejected, and the Pistons went from leading that game by 10 to losing by 20. And silly me had the audacity to say that maybe the ejections cost the Pistons that game. And I was raked over the coals for that. But I stand on that take. Nothing's going to change my mind. The Pistons can display toughness, grittiness, and everything that is associated with the culture of the Detroit Pistons under J.B. Bickerstaff and Trajan Langdon and the rest of that front office that has resurrected this franchise from the graves. All of that, I love it, and I'm all for it, but you can't let it boil over into costing yourself games. And I use the term games because plural, because this is the second game that those antics in Minnesota cost the Pistons. Now, I'm not saying they win if they have Isaiah Stewart, Marcus Sasser, and Ron Holland. But again, when you're going up against the league's best, you have to put yourself in a position to have a fighting chance in hell. And no Cade Cunningham already made that such an uphill battle. So by losing Isaiah Stewart, Marcus Sasser, and Ron Holland, albeit three role players, you're eliminating even the slightest chance to win this game. I mean, and again, that's no disrespect to the guys that are on the floor, but you're just not winning games when Liddy Waters is playing 18 minutes. And I'm sorry if that comes across disrespectful, and you're not winning games when you got Paul Reed racking up as many minutes, 15 minutes. And again, that's not to be disrespectful to those guys, but this game, unfortunately, was lost when the Pistons show up to this game just completely outmatched. And the effort was there. The execution for a large portion of this game was there. Everything was there. And that makes it even more frustrating, because I truly do believe that this was an example of one game costing you two, because the game in Minnesota, because of the trickle down effect of the suspensions, ends up costing you the opportunity. And listen, this is where we wanted to be, which is another reason why I want to say this. And I can get raked over the coals in the comments again. I don't care. That's kind of what makes it fun, to be honest, because I just don't see how anyone else can't see it this way, that these games matter. The Pistons are good. They don't have to fight teams, and they don't have to be this slept on team. Like the rest of the NBA respects the turnaround that the Detroit Pistons have compiled in just a year's time. And so the best way to continue to put your best foot forward for the Detroit Pistons is continue to win games and compete in the Eastern Conference and work your way up in the standings and be a top 4 seed where you're hosting games. And so these losses are critical. And again, I firmly believe that you set yourself up for a loss in this game by showing up outmatched because you didn't have the personnel to be able to compete in an NBA game. And half these guys that were playing out there are G Leaguer, not half. But that being said, feels good to get off my chest on a late night vent session here, but I appreciate you hearing me out and listening. And if you disagree, let me know in the comments, because that's what this open forum post-game reaction show is all about. Now, as for the game on the court, I think the takeaway that we'll all be talking about, and let's go ahead and get right into it, because that is what we'll be talking about after this game.
This is what you'll be talking about.
It's that this team is very, very close to, I would say, in all areas, when healthy, when at full strength, being a team that competes with the very best. And that's the takeaway from tonight, which should make it equally as frustrating that they couldn't be at their very best tonight because of the lack of personnel. But this team has turned the corner, and we've been saying that all year, but there's no doubt in my mind that the Pistons have the makeup to make some noise in the postseason and compete in series against the NBA's best. And if you would have looked back on where this team was at the conclusion of the season last year to fast forward to now, we'd be saying that less than a year later. That's pretty remarkable. But because of that, you want this team to succeed, and you don't want them to be bogged down by nights like tonight where you just have no shot. But I want to get into the performance on the floor. I thought Tim Hardaway Jr. leads the way with 23 points. Tobias Harris leaving the game, certainly concerning. I spent a little time before getting on the air to see if anything new had broke on that, but it's an Achilles injury and no update as far as a potential timetable. Of course, he'll obviously undergo testing and that sort of thing, but man, the Pistons can ill afford to lose Tobias Harris. That is for sure, despite kind of an off night tonight. Now, the Oklahoma City Thunder absolutely loaded, 64-12. We know that. I mean, this is a team that as legitimate finals or bust expectations. They've earned that, the way the roster is constructed, all of it, and with Chet Holmgren back healthy, a rim protector. I mean, my goodness, it felt like every time I watched, whoever was driving to the lane, Holmgren had a block on him. I mean, I guess he gets credited with 6 blocks. My goodness, it felt like it was even more than that. And obviously SGA likely going to be the MVP, or at least the favorite for the MVP. You could have that discussion with the Joker, of course, but he's right up there. And then just the role players. I mean, even the guy like Lou Dort, who's going to guard the best player. Jalen Williams with 23 tonight. You got to give the Oklahoma City Thunder a lot of credit, because man, that is a loaded roster that comes at you in so many different ways on both ends of the floor. They get after you. And the Pistons felt that tonight. There's no doubt about it. All right, we're going to get into my turning point, my player of the game, and we'll look ahead at the upcoming schedule, and we will wrap this baby up on a late night live Locked on Pistons postcast. But before we do, let's go ahead and get into your comments. Thanks as always. You stayed up late, so you deserve it. It's been a late week between Tigers games on the West Coast. They started in LA, then to Seattle, and now a later game in Oklahoma City. I'm not great with time zones, so I'm not sure what time zone it was. Oklahoma City still Central, whatever it was. It was a game on ESPN, so that impacts it as well. Demetrius McNeil, not going to lie, the Pistons team is showing some heart and take that chance to the playoffs. Did I mention that the Thunder defense is elite? Elite's a great word for it, my friend Demetrius. Very, very good point. All right. Dat Musician JB says, hello. What is SGA and Dennis arguing about at the end of the game? Great question, because it's a Pistons game. There has to be some chippiness. Otherwise, the world would no longer exist as we know it if there's not some sort of chippy exchange after a hard-fought 48 minutes of basketball. But I say that tongue-in-cheek, but I actually completely mean it. I think it was over the last foul. I don't know. I really don't. And that's fine. Dennis Schroeder, I love what he brings to this team. I'm not going to knock him. It didn't escalate. See, that's the other thing. Like, you can have those instances where there's chippiness, where there's intense exchanges without it escalating and your whole team getting suspended like we had on Sunday. So I don't think it was anything major. It looked like Tim Hardaway Jr. And other guys for the Pistons went over there and smooth things over and vice versa. And everybody's dapping up. But that being said, hey, Pistons lose to the Oklahoma City Thunder 119-103. It was closer than that. We're going to examine exactly where it was closer than that next. Don't go anywhere. It's live. Locked On Pistons Postcast. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Pistons Postcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. That's right. Had to keep you waiting a little bit there. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, listen up. Baseball season is here. It's in full swing, you could even say, but it's April in the D, so there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least two players' projected stats, and you watch the winnings roll on in. If you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. So whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, three-pointers, first inning runs, baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever it is, Prize Picks has got you covered. You can enjoy exclusive promos. I always take advantage of Taco Tuesday, where Prize Picks offers discounts on select players and projections for even more value. Building your lineup is so easy. You can get it done in probably 30 seconds or less and watch those winnings roll on in. So download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app Prize Picks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. This episode of the Locked On Pistons Postcast is also brought to you by Monarch Money. All right, it's Monarch Money. Indeed it is, my friends. Listen up. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, and it becomes your personal CFO, giving you the full visibility to control your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. There's plenty of those out there, but no, Monarch Money is different. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop managing your money and you start building wealth. Stop managing, start building. There's surprising insights. And when I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Like, goodness sakes, Jake, stop getting food delivered. Now I budget smarter and save more. Hey, and if you want to include your significant other or your spouse or whatever it may be, there's easy collaboration tools that makes managing your money with your partner smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts and set goals and stay on the same page without stress. There's enough stress in relationships as it is. Am I right? So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com. That's code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. monarchmoney.com. And into the final segment of the evening we go. A couple more comments to get to, which we appreciate your comments because, hey, it's a collaborative environment here. That's what I always say. And we've got a couple people chiming in on the little exchange after the Dennis Schroeder and SGA ordeal. Ollie says, I think it's because he keeps extending his off arm. I agree. I mean, SGA contorts his body in a way time in and time out that's like, wait a second, this guy is no wonder he's getting every single call because he is always drawing fouls. No wonder he shoots so many free throws here. We got an Oklahoma City Thunder fan in the chat, which is always welcomed. Remember, no producer here, so I'm just rolling with these on the fly. Ace the One, OKC fan here. I really respect your team so much. I look forward to competing with y'all over the next couple of years. Y'all are the future of the East. Well, look at that. Look at that. The respect has been earned. We appreciate that from Ace One. Hopefully we meet in the finals, says Ollie. That would be awesome. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a really neat comment to touch on because it shows the progress that has been made and what can continue to be made. And you don't have to do it by forcing the quote unquote respect factor. I think you let your game speak for yourself and you go out and you win games. Now, real quick, I got to get into my turning point because this game did get pretty close down the stretch in that fourth quarter. So without further ado, it's the turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
All right. At one point, it was 102-98, and I wrote this down on my fancy legal pad, big note taker over here. And I thought this is where the game really turned because you got a chance to pull within 2 or 1. And I don't blame Dennis Schroeder on this because it looked like he had an open lane to the basket and went up with the underhand scoop. And Chet Holmgren, who we've been talking about on tonight's post-game show, comes out of nowhere and just denies it with a clean block, one of 6 blocks of the night, and the Thunder go down and Lou Dort hits the 3. And that momentum swing felt like it was the last straw for the Detroit Pistons, kind of the nail in the coffin, if you will, and resulted in the Thunder never looking back after that. So that's my turning point. A great block, more of a testament to Chet Holmgren and the defense that he played. I did also want to add the 107-103 because same margin of deficit there, down 4 points. You got Jalen Duren going up. You think he's got a bucket, but the offensive foul negates it. That was a bummer because, yeah, you see the contact made with the elbow to the upper facial region there, the shoulder region, wherever it was. And there definitely was contact, but would love to see the referees let him play a little bit there because that would have made it a 2-point game. All right, time now for player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
A lot to choose from here because it was a game that just saw a lot of solid efforts. I mean, nobody took over this game, but anytime you got a guy that's plus 30, I think you got to give him the nods. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 33 points, plus 30, 11 of 12 from the foul line. We talk about his ability to get to the stripe. He wasn't the most efficient, though, 10 of 26 from the floor. But I just think he does so many things to impact a game and to help this Oklahoma City Thunder team win. Chet Holmgren, another one with the 6 blocks I mentioned, the double-double with 22 and 11, but both those guys were really good tonight. And this Thunder team, I mean, like I said, they're a finals or bust team. For the Pistons, you got Tim Hardaway Jr., 23 points and leading the way that way. Malik Beasley struggled a little bit off the bench, 4 of 15 from the floor, not going to get it done, especially on a night where you're so short one-handed. So final score in this one, 119-103. Hope you enjoyed the Locked On Pistons post-game show. Always a pleasure to be on the air with you, even on a long day with a couple of late night casts this week. Always fired up to represent Locked On Detroit. So do me a favor, like today's video, subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit, tell a friend about it, and make sure you sign up for Locked On Pistons at lockedondaily.com, the Daily Pistons newsletter on lockedondaily.com. My name is Jake Riepma. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma, and we'll see you next time. Off day tomorrow for both the Pistons and the Tigers. We'll be back with a little doubleheader on Friday. Got opening day live in the D for the baseball side of things, and then the Pistons later that night in action against the Toronto Raptors. Looking forward to that. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your day, night, morning, whatever it is. See you next time.